James Harden is undoubtedly one of the best scorers in NBA history, a 3-time scoring champion, 10-time All-Star, and MVP. He will go down in the history books as one of the best shooters and scorers of all time. Today, I want to revisit the peak of his career. His 2018-2019 season gave us some iconic moments, but one month in particular, he went out and scorched the league night in and night out. Let's explore James Harden's historic January 2019, where he averaged over 43 points per game. Harden has always been known as a scorer, and after being traded to the Houston Rockets in 2012, he was given the keys to the team where he was able to evolve into a prolific scorer. In his final season in OKC, he won the 6th Man of the Year award, averaging 16.8 points per game. His game in Houston reached a new level. With his first season, he boosted his numbers up to nearly 26 points per game, and his time in Houston would reflect his scoring ability, as his lowest points per game in Houston for a full season was 25.4, way over what he was averaging in Oklahoma City. Maybe he just needed the opportunity, and now he got it. Over time, as his scoring increased, he became a better player. The Rockets also got back into becoming a contender. The biggest change to Harden's game would come in a coaching change in 2016 with the hiring of Mike D'Antoni. When he was hired, the Rockets were expected to become a better team, but I don't think anyone expected Harden's game to expand as much as it did. The duo clearly worked together well, as in their first season, he won the Coach of the Year award, and the Rockets made it to the Western Conference Finals. While Harden averaged a career high in points, the next 2 seasons he would continue to become a better player as the team continued to get better. Harden would win MVP in the 2017-2018 season, averaging 30.4 points per game, but this wouldn't be his scoring prime. That would actually come in the next season. Going into the 2018-2019 season, the Rockets and James Harden had high expectations. Coming off of an MVP and a franchise best record of 65 wins to 17 losses, there wasn't much room for failure. The season started well, but this is where Harden would reach his peak scoring thanks to one word: isolation. Harden found his game within his ISO play, and D'Antoni is credited with helping this. Let's take a look at isolation play scoring leaders from the 2018-2019 season. Starting in the 5th position, we have Kawhi Leonard at 3.9 points per game. DeMar DeRozan comes in at 4th at 4.1 points per game. LeBron James coming in at 3rd, one of the best isolation scorers, hard to guard him one-on-one. This was close to his prime too, right after his 2018 season at 4.7 points. James Harden's teammate, Chris Paul, 4.7 points. And then number 1, James Harden, 18.1 points per game, which was over half of his total on the season of 36.1 points per game. He was doing this in isolation play. He was averaging over 18 points per game by himself, one-on-one, and it was impossible to guard him. That is over 4 times more than Chris Paul, who was in 2nd place in the season. This absolutely revolutionized his game, and it helped him absolutely scorch the league, especially from 3, shooting very well from downtown, and he was able to hit that step back 3 during this time period. It was almost automatic. If he hit that step back 3 on you, you knew that was going to be a bucket. Now let's look at his stats from January 2019 as a whole, because one of his best games in his career also came during this time period. Now looking at a numbers standpoint, James Harden's January of 2019 may be the best stretch of offensive basketball that we have ever seen. Overall, he averaged 43.6 points per game, 8.7 rebounds per game, and 7.6 assists per game. And if we break it down by the numbers, this includes 5 40-point games, 2 50-point games, and 1 60-point game, which we'll get into in a minute. And he had 0 games below 30 points. This is insane. We're talking about a whole month stretch of basketball where you play a game almost every day, sometimes back-to-back games, and he did not have a game where he had less than 30 points during this time period, which is just insane to say out loud. Now, how did he do this? Just besides the isolation play itself, yes, he was very, very good this season, able to get almost any shot that he wanted up in the game. Now, a specific game that I want to bring it to is his 61-point performance, which tied a career high against the New York Knicks in January 24th of 2019. Now, this game highlights his scoring prowess during this point in his career, but the main thing I want to point out about this game is another reason how he scored so many points, which is the free throw line. During this game, he went 17 for 38 from the field. Not the best, especially looking at this game having 61 points. You got to wonder, where do those other 22 points come from? 5 for 20 from 3, so not great, but 22 for 25 from the free throw line. He also had 15 rebounds, 4 assists, and 5 steals in this game. Just an insane game to look at from a scoring and offensive standpoint by itself. But this is how he got a bunch of the points during this time period. If he wasn't hitting that step back three, he was getting to the free throw line. And he did draw some criticism during this time period because a lot of people got to a point where they got sick of him drawing so many fouls, which, as we know now in the current NBA landscape, we have a lot of higher up players doing that, and people still get pretty upset about it. But during this time period, if you couldn't guard that step back, he was getting fouled on those 3-point attempts so often, and he was going to the line, and that's what led to him getting 61 points in this game in a 4-point win against the Knicks. Harden also had 2 very historic stretches during this time period throughout this season, as some of them include January, some either started before January or ended after. And these 2 stretches are a 32-game streak of scoring at least 30 points. This started in December 13th and went all the way to February 21st. This is just absolutely insane to look at. He also had a record 42.8 points over a stretch from December 15th to January 23rd, which is also just crazy to look at. Wilt Chamberlain is the only other player in NBA history to average more points in a 20-game stretch than Harden did in that 5-week period. And if you are being compared to Wilt Chamberlain, who put up like video game 2K numbers from what we know in the record books, you're doing something pretty well. And he was also very efficient during this time, because during this stretch, he went out there fast. Like I said, ISO play as well. He went out there, hit those step backs when he needed to, got to the rim, or got fouled almost every possession that he went out there. And he shot 53.9% from the field, which is also insane over a 15-game stretch, which is how he got so many points, a total of 856 over that time period, averaging 42.8. So from a numbers standpoint, is this the best scoring output that we have seen within a single month or a single time period in NBA history? Yes, it's definitely up there. Like I said, it's up there with the likes of Wilt Chamberlain's time period when he was putting up 50 points in a season. But the main thing to look at from this time period, you can look at the stats all you want, but just watching this back, going back and watching those prime James Harden highlights from the Rockets, he was unguardable. And he went out there almost every single night during this time period and put up buckets. Like I said before, during a time period in January of 2019, you could go out there and if you bet on Harden to have at least 30 points throughout that whole month, there was not a single game where he went under that and would have lost you that bet. Just to put that into perspective. Let me know down below, guys, what you want to see me cover next. If there's any other players that you want to see me go back and maybe cover their prime time period, let me know down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.